Welcome to another episode of Tarot by Hilary Live. And hopefully, we won't have the problem of my voice or my audio matching up to my words, but who knows? Because I did decide to do an intro or getting ready to live stream thing that had audio with it. So who knows how that's going to work out or how that's going to sound after the fact. I'm excited to see if it works out at all, and I will evaluate it later because I don't know. I don't know how it's going to show up when it shows up. And you'll have to let me know if you liked it or if you hated it or whatever. Let me know. So tonight we are talking about Kipper, which is a divination system that I'm very intrigued by. I don't know a lot about it, but the reason why we're doing Kipper tonight and the reason why I am being very forthright and saying I don't know, I don't know what Kipper is or I don't know how it works, is because we are going to have someone on the episode that is experimenting with Kipper, is learning Kipper, and so that is Sophia of Benevolent Corvus fame. Most of you who are regular viewers of the live stream each week know Sophia. She has been a little bit sparse as of late because she is gearing up to do different things, and if you're nice, she might reveal those things when she comes on a little bit later on. But she and I were talking about the Siren Song Lenormand and Kipper set, basically. And I am familiar with the Siren Song Lenormand because I have the Siren Song Lenormand as it was independently produced by Carrie Paris. Now, the thing that came out, that is the Siren Song Lenormand and Kipper deck, that just came out, I believe, as of this month. And I think from reading about that particular set, where it's just like they kind of call Lenormand and Kipper like cousins. So we'll see what that means or how that interacts with each other, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by Kipper. Kipper has been around. It's not quite as popular a trend as the Lenormand was a few years back, where it was just like everyone was talking about Lenormand. Everyone was like, it was like the trendy hip thing to learn about was Lenormand. And now I feel like Kipper is having a little bit of that, but not to the same degree as Lenormand. So, but I'm not just a tarot magpie, but I'm also a divination magpie. I love to investigate. I like to see divination systems, especially how they interact with each other. So I'm very excited about having Sophia on tonight to talk about Kipper and her experience of the Kipper deck. So Katie is here. Hello, Katie. Hello to Fran. Welcome. And I did set up our little intro video. So let me go ahead and run that and I will be back. And we're also going to do all of the regular stuff. We're going to do the AstroBiz digest at the top of the episode. We're going to do the weekend forecast at the end of the episode. We're going to do the mid-episode reading. It may not be a tarot reading. We may ask Sophia to do a Kipper reading to see how Kipper reading is different from a tarot reading or Lenormand reading or an oracle reading. So we'll see and we'll experiment. Let me pull this up. Lots of different prep work that I've been doing today. So thank you for your patience, and let's let that upload. Okay, cool. Looking good. I will be back in about 20 seconds. All right. So I don't think I did intros yet. So if you are new to the broadcast, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader and EFT tapping practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. You absolutely, absolutely have intuition. So as I was saying before, giving you a little bit of a description about what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about Kipper. So for these live streams, I used to come on and I used to pull cards for people. That wasn't satisfying enough for me. And I wanted to be able to teach some of these topics, teach about tarot, teach about Lenormand, teach about spirit boards or Ouija boards, teach about charm casting, teach about intuition and the clairs and how different people access their intuition. And so tonight's topic is Kipper because I want to learn about it. Like, forget about you guys, but I want to learn about it. And also, this came up in conversation, like I was saying before, with Sophia. And you should really go ahead and follow Sophia, benevolent_Corvus, over on the gram of Insta. She is also on the tube of you as well. Follow her, especially follow her this month because she is doing a deep dive into the Siren Song, Lenormand, and Kipper deck. And looking like I've just been watching those posts and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Like that makes sense. And from the little research that I did on Kipper, it really does feel like, and this is also something that US Games said about Kipper when they were, when I read the article that they produced on Kipper, and they have 2 Kipper decks that you can buy. Basically, it's a divination system that anyone can pick up and start using it right away. It's very accessible. And apparently, Facebook has stopped my broadcast. Awesome. Cool. That's great. Oh boy. However, I don't know how I'm violating their TOS, but apparently I'm violating their TOS. So that's great. That's awesome. So let me really quickly pull up the tube of you link for them and let them know that we are continuing over on the tube of you. Oh boy. Actually, let me let's just do the introduction now. Um, Fran's saying I'm still getting it. Good. I'm glad that you're still getting it. If you're not still getting it, I'm going to write in here. Um, Facebook users may want to switch to YouTube. Okay. Yeah, and Katie's saying that I'm still showing up on the Book of Face. That's great. I got a prompt saying that I'm violating terms of service, which is fun. This is the second time I'm getting the prompt, and I have no idea why that's happening. But you know, rolling with it. So I'm going to go ahead and display this. So those of you who are tuning in on the Book of Face, um, I'm going to jump in hopefully, and yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's not something that I expected to happen because Mercury is not in retrograde. Um, all right. So, for those of you who are regulars here, you already know the drill. For those of you who are new to the broadcast, there are 2, if not 3, main portions of the broadcast that happens every Friday night, 6:30 to 6:45-ish Eastern Standard Time. We start off with the Astro-Weather from Theresa Reed's wonderful Astro-Biz Digest for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We go into the main topic of the episode, which is tonight it happens to be Kipper. It might be something different on a different night. Then we do the mid-episode reading about midway through the episode. And then at the end of the episode, we do the weekend forecast, which is either a tarot card or an oracle card, so that you can bring yourself into the weekend prepared and not scared. So if that sounds good to everybody, please go ahead and say hell yeah in the chat, and we will get into the astrology. Theresa, so that's from Theresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. So Sophia, do you want to jump on here and do live reactions to the astrology? I can hear you. I don't think anybody else can hear you, but I can hear you, and I do see the thumbs up. So hopefully everyone can hear. So I'm going to bring you on. Ready? Okay. And a 3 and a 2 and a 1. Here she is, Sophia. Thank you.
Hello.
I know it's been a little while since you've joined us. So welcome. And you're going to be teaching us a little bit about Kipper tonight. Let me go ahead and adjust this, line this up. I did also do a overlay. So let me see. Add overlay, upload overlay. Let's see. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I have it. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
That's kind of cute. That's kind of cute. Yeah, let's see. Let me see. Yeah, that works. Yeah, you're a little bit more centered than me. That's great. There we go. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna adjust it.
I have to keep scooching. Everyone can see the corner of my back. There we go. Perfect.
There we go. So Sophia, do you want to tell us a little bit about the conversation that we had about Kipper before we get into the astrology? Let's do a little like brief synopsis about like why we're talking about Kipper tonight.
So basically I bought this deck on an impulse because I had saw someone on the Threads app mention it, and I decided, oh, I need that like yesterday. And so I messaged Hilary, as I do whenever I make an impulse purchase, so that I can guilt her into doing it, so then I feel less bad.
Yep.
Peer pressure is fine. But so I had tried to persuade Hilary to get the deck because I'm getting into Kipper because I had actually originally been interested in Sibylla, and I found that there were more accessible books on Kipper than Sibylla, and then I saw that this deck was coming out, and I love Carrie Paris, and I really like the Card Geeks books as well. I'm not as familiar with her work as Carrie's, but I'm drinking all of the Flavor Aid and going down that path very quickly. And then I also watched Thomas from Hermit's Mirror has a 3-hour seminar on the Kipper as well. So I just consumed all of the media, and now I'm hooked.
And like, so here's the thing, like Sophia nearly got me. She nearly got me with the Siren Song, because I already, like I was saying at the top of the episode, I already have the original version of the Siren Song Lenormand as produced independently by Carrie Paris. So to get another, like to get the set with the Lenormand and the Kipper, I feel it's just like overkill because I already do have the Lenormand. So if I were to get a Kipper deck, which I probably am going to, like full disclosure, I do not own a Kipper deck right now. But I will probably end up getting the one from Ciro Marchetti that US Games produces, or the other one. I think there's only 2 Kipper decks that they have in their rotation right now through US Games, or at least as of the time of this recording. So just to have a little bit of variety. But I was saying a little bit before about reading the article, and they basically say at US Games that Kipper is very accessible to someone that might not be familiar with divination systems. And almost it's like it's not as rigid or foundational as the tarot would be. Like let's just be honest. Let's just agree as a common thing. Like tarot, like it can be kind of difficult to start to learn it because there's just so many things. There's 78 cards, you know, it's just like it's a lot of cards. It can feel very overwhelming, right? So with Kipper is 36 cards, I believe.
Yes.
Same as Lenormand, but different cards to Lenormand and a completely different divination system. You might feel like they feel similar, but they are not the same divination system. Just let everybody know that. So I'm intrigued by the system, especially the accessibility of the system. Do you tend to agree just from working the, you know, like, did you start at the beginning of the month?
Not even. I started like 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
and I've just, which is the beginning of the month now that I'm thinking.
It's a little timey-wimey.
Yeah. I'm in the process of moving to a foreign country. I have absolutely no brain left. I'm just subsisting on caffeine, daily readings, and what little amounts of chocolate I am consuming.
Understandable. So, but to your understanding, working with it for the 2 weeks that you've been working with it, do you feel that that's like a good baseline for people, that it's just like it's very accessible? Do you feel that?
Absolutely. I still think that Lenormand, it depends on how your brain works for sure. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think for most people, Lenormand is a really good gateway into the whole divination world because you, like as Hilary said a billion times, you can just write the titles on a bunch of index cards
Yes,
and
for
just you're off
Lenormand.
to the races.
Yeah.
My thing with Lenormand is there's not enough structure for me, so it drives me insane. I like rules. I like tiny little boxes. I like the structure. Tarot can be very inaccessible. Like I think we talked in a past live stream about how we can't even remember when tarot clicked. We just went from oh my god,
not knowing,
yeah,
not knowing, crying into our tarot cards, I'm never going to get this, to, oh yeah, I got it.
yeah, can't even pinpoint. Where with the
Right.
Kipper, there's a little bit more to chew on. Like for example, if I pull 3 random cards right now, Kipper is very directionality based. So let's see if this is the right direction. So you have brief illness, gift, and great fortune. And where the figures are looking is very important in the Kipper because certain cards play off other cards. Like, for example, great fortune is at the end of our line. So it's being impacted by what's in front of it if you go that way, because you want to see the root of what this good fortune is. So you could read linearly, or certain cards, in fact, oh my god, brain. Certain cards impact other cards. That's a sentence.
Yes, that's a sentence, yes.
So like for example, if brief illness is next to gift is behind it, what gift could be causing this brief illness? Like, because brief illness isn't necessarily always an illness. It could be a pause. Like, say, for example, you do a reading about your job and you see brief illness. That could be, I'm calling in sick to go to the beach today. That's your brief illness.
Yeah.
But with the gift, it could be someone very kindly gave you a bunch of fancy cheese, but it may have melted a little bit in their suitcase and they didn't disclose that fact, and then you had like some tummy troubles. That's also could be the gift causing a brief illness.
Oh, I see.
So they play on each other.
All right, before we get too ahead of ourselves, we do have to do the Astro-Weather. So let's go ahead and pull that information up. And also, I do want to remind people we do usually do the mid-episode reading around the middle of the episode. So please stay tuned to be considered for a live reading. It might not be a live tarot reading, considering we're talking about Kipper. It might be a Kipper reading just to see how the cards interplay with each other and like give a real world live example. So keep that in mind. But then also, if you want your astrology, like we're doing it right now. So the Astro-Weather is from Theresa Reed from her wonderful AstroBiz Digest that I recommend all the freaking time. I'm not going to pull up all of that stuff right now because, you know, we have two people on screen. It'll be enough to just say the Astro-Weather is from Theresa Reed's wonderful AstroBiz Digest. And I usually like to do the brief overview of like what's going on for the week, and then give you the specifics for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because I do really want to encourage people to get a copy of the AstroBiz Digest for themselves. It is geared towards entrepreneurs and business owners, but I found it to be very helpful in planning my personal life as well. And it is a $99 for a year-long subscription. So that is like ridiculously cheap for the amount of information that she gives. It's amazing. So let me go ahead and pull that up. But I did take a quick look over it, and I feel like she was saying something to the effect of like, take the weekend off if you can. There's no specific, I didn't really say, I didn't really see specifically why, but we will get into the specifics for the weekend. And this particular AstroBiz Digest, she starts with like a story, basically, about using astrology to plan your life. And astrology for business, and this is in her own words now, astrology for business may seem like a strange brew to some. She's used it for years, so she likes to think of herself as proof that it can work for you. So in her words, I follow the stars faithfully, much as a farmer follows the seasons. It's never failed me. However, someone recently asked me if I do every single thing down to the letter. While I follow the planets diligently, I am also a one-person show. I can't be on all the time. I choose the tasks that I must do for the week and align it with the best day for that particular job. For example, suppose I need to take a meeting. In that case, I'll make sure it's scheduled on a power day or when the planets are favorable for negotiation. I'll also check the forecast every morning. If the day looks funky, I lay low, but if the planets are grooving, I get down to business and I make every moment count. Sometimes you don't have a say when something lands on your schedule. Your book may drop during a Mercury retrograde. In cases like that, go with the flow and minimize drama as much as possible. So use the information as you see fit, find your rhythm. In time, you'll start to see the ebb and flow of the heavens can stack the odds in your favor and help you avoid trouble. It's super cool when you're plugged in like that. And then she also says, by the way, the cosmos are a bit quiet this week. Besides a few bumps in the stars, it should be a decent week for business. So that is just a little side note that someone approached her and was just like, do you do everything to the letter? And sometimes you just can't. You can't, especially if you're not in business for yourself, especially if you might be working for somebody else and they decide to call a meeting at 3:30 on a Friday when it's a weekday for you instead of a power day for you. Like, what do you do then? Do you be like, I'm calling in sick, or like that's entirely up to you. But sometimes we just can't do that. Like, for example, this is the reason why I talk about Mercury retrograde all the time and say, like, we can't put our lives on hold for 3 weeks, for 3 weeks at a time, 3 to 4 times a year. Like, that's Mercury is a fast moving planet and it's close to us. So it's going to affect us more. But at the same time, if it's just like, if that's going to happen 3 to 4 times a year for 3 weeks out of those times, we can't just lay low. We can't just, be ostriches, right? And put our heads into the sand. We have to learn how to work with that energy. So sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes it is going to work really well. So like Theresa says, find an ebb and flow, do what works for you. Like we're no longer, farmers following the Farmer's Almanac. and we are a little bit out of touch sometimes with the natural energies. So it is a reminder to like get back in touch with the natural energies and work with them instead of working against them. So, all right, let's go into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Friday morning is chill, so continue with your writing projects. It's also okay for meetings or negotiations. The afternoon is best for chill activities once the moon squares Neptune and stations void at 1:27 p.m. Take the rest of your day off if you can. Avoid starting new things. If you must work, concentrate on finishing whatever you started earlier in the week. The public becomes ultra sensitive once the moon shifts into Cancer at 6:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, that just passed, but we're probably still feeling that a little bit. Theresa's advice is to take the whole weekend off if you can. Make self-care your number one priority, and you'll emerge refreshed on Monday. So today, Friday, August 11th, is a power day for Gemini and a weekday for Sagittarius. And again, some of us can't take the weekend off. My retail job, I'm working closings both days. Like, I can't take the weekend off, but I work with the energy. That's just what you got to do. Work with the energy that is there. All right, Saturday and Sunday, if you insist on working, or you have to, Saturday has one excellent spot, the Moon Chiron trine at 2:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is for inspirational leadership, and it will hang around until Sunday. If you're hosting an event or PR campaign, you can motivate the public if you choose the right words. Sunday also has the Sun conjunct Venus at 7:16 a.m., another dynamite aspect for leadership and PR. Two other Sunday hotspots, the Moon-Mars sextile at 12:56 p.m. and the Moon-Uranus sextile at 4:30 p.m. Automate social media marketing memes around that time or engage with your community via a lively live stream. Of course, if you don't want to work this weekend, you might enjoy lounging around at the pool, jetting off for a late summer vacation, or tidying up your home office. Do what you want. It's your weekend. Both days, Saturday and Sunday, are power days for Cancer and weekdays for Capricorn. So I think the reason why she said about like taking the weekend off if you can is because of the moon shifting into Cancer, and Cancer being like kind of like a homebody. It makes sense that she's saying that, but like if you can't, you can't. So Sophia, since you're on here, is there a particular day that was just like really hinky for you that you want me to take a look at?
Ooh, let me think. Yesterday was kind of funky. I like did not want to emerge from my blanket cocoon, but that could also have just been that I worked 4 days in a row and I was tired.
Yeah, it's always possible. Let's see. So everything was like okay, except for Moon squaring Mercury 2:02 p.m. Everything comes to a standstill at that time, so you should too. There was a moon-sun sextile at 7:37 p.m., which was like a good time to do a newsletter, host a live stream. Public is in a foul mood once the moon squares Mars at 10:28 p.m. Don't bother engaging, then it's too jittery. So yeah, there was a couple of moon squarings happening. Moon squaring Mercury in the early afternoon, and then moon squaring Mars in the evening. So that could be the reason why.
That tracks.
Yeah. So in the chat, if anyone wants me to take a look at another day other than Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because we already talked about those, let me know. And I still have it open, so we can pop back over to there, and I can answer that. But let's talk about Kipper. Let me go ahead and hide that. And yeah, let's talk about Kipper. So do you have like a good some summary of where Kipper came from? Because I couldn't really find much. It's just as mysterious in its origins as Lenormand and as tarot, where it's just like there's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of like, did like Lenormand is attributed to to one person, but that may not necessarily be the case. It could have been like a marketing ploy. And I'm hearing that Kipper was kind of formulated in possibly the same way. So
yeah, it's a very similar kind of story. So Kipper is in the grand scheme of things not much younger, but if we sort of tentatively posit Lenormand around like 1820, 1830, Kipper concretely came about in 1890s Bavaria, and it was considered a reaction to the fame of Lenormand. So Lenormand is a thing at this point, and then cartomancers in the German countryside were totally eating it up, and a famous reader whose name I cannot remember, of course, um, created this system as a more mundane version of the Lenormand, more about interpersonal, more about the interactions between people, and more mundane events than Lenormand. Not that Lenormand, I feel like Lenormand is pretty tangible, especially if we're comparing the two systems to tarot, which is like, ah, yes, the psychopomp with the crocodile god is really going to help me today with my job. So where Kipper is a lot more like Lenormand, you have more everyday things like bouquets and foxes and bears and things that you can intellectualize and know what that's about. Where Kipper takes it even a step further, and we have cards like prison, deep thoughts, unexpected money, marriage, occupation. So it gets even more tangible. And like Lenormand, it's expected to be read in the grand tableau, or with Kipper, it's more often referred to as a grosse Tafel, big table. So, which makes sense. And so that's kind of what we see with the Kipper. So more traditionally, you see people starting reading grand tableaus. That is not what I am doing. That I am being meek and mild, and I am enjoying my little 3 cards, and I've gotten brave and experimented with some 9-card boxes and the little crosses that you can do with it as well. So it's basically just a 9-card with the corners chopped off. But so it's a lot more more manageable for me. I have done 1 or 2 gross Tafels, and it hasn't been bad because it is so matter of fact. And that's sort of how I would explain the history of it. It was the more tangible answer to tarot and Lenormand.
So I'm just going to go ahead and drop a article in the chat, the article that I was referencing before from US Games. So yeah, so I can read a little bit from there, but they didn't have a lot of history. It was more like what is it? How were they read? How are they different from other divination systems? So it is considered a German fortune-telling system dating back to the 19th century. The deck traditionally has 36 cards. Many are people in various roles and relationships. Major life events and common situations are also clearly designated in the cards. For example, marriage, work, journey, illness. Kipper card meanings are very straightforward and direct, so even for a beginner, the cards can be read right out of the box. The Kipper deck is quite visual. The images and titles indicate exactly what the card means. For example, success or high honors. How are they read? They're typically read in a line, often with an odd number of cards, such as 5 and 7, and the position and proximity of cards in the line, like Sophia was saying before, affect the card's meaning and the outcome of the reading. The direction of the cards is also important. For example, the gift card in front of the main male might mean he is receiving a gift. The gift card after the main male card means he is giving a gift. While Kipper can be relatively simple to read, the system is capable of delivering very accurate, in-depth, and detailed answers, even for yes or no questions. And it can also indicate elements of timing and how far away or how near events are. For example, the expectation card usually means something will happen in 3 months. Does that sound about right to you, Sophia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would add to that is, so the 2 significators really do play a role, especially in a gross Tafel, because basically where they are in the tableau makes a huge difference. Are they at the top? Because how you would read it is, so they do it 9 by 9 rather than the 8 by 8 with a row of 4 that a lot of Lenormand readers do.
Yeah.
So they square it up, and then so each column is a week, each row is a month.
Wow.
And so where it is means that, and then also if it's, this is more similar to Lenormand, but say for example you have your significator at the top, it means that there's not a lot on their mind. Everything is below, or vice versa with the bottom. The other thing with Kipper that's distinct is that where the significator is facing is very important. Everything in front of them is well dignified, to borrow the Thoth terms. Anything behind is ill dignified and is going to be a challenge. So say you have your significator smack dab in the middle, half of it's going to be easy, half of it's going to be hard. If they're all the way to the left, smooth sailing. They may only have one row of things that are going to be a little funky. If they're all the way to the right, good luck, man.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's interesting the way you're describing Kipper. It has almost that sensibility of Lenormand, where it's just like it's very straightforward. It's very like it's not going to coddle you.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just like if you want the answers like straight right between the eyes, like dang. And actually, we were just meeting earlier today for Card Slingers. We didn't end up recording anything, but there is a new Card Slingers episode, by the way, which is like probably one of my favorite episodes we've ever done about reviews. And I think we are going to have merch coming because it just made me laugh so freaking hard. So if you want Card Slingers merch, let us know, because we are going along those lines, I think. But I was talking with Melissa and Jamie about how we were going to be discussing Kipper in this episode. And I didn't know, what Jamie or Melissa's familiarity with Kipper was. And Melissa was just like, I still have, I still feel with Lenormand, where it's just like I feel very like squirmy and vulnerable with Lenormand, how Lenormand comes for me. So I don't know if I can necessarily like do that for Kipper too. And Jamie was saying that she was just like, yeah, like for Kipper, like I use it very infrequently because it works and it is very straight between the eyes, much like Lenormand or people's experience of Lenormand is. So like it's very accessible, but it is also like careful, like it's not going to be soft and spongy with you like an oracle deck might be.
For me with Kipper, I would describe it as when I have conversations with my fellow neurodivergent friends, it's like I think if you're not neurodivergent, it can come across a little harsh. But if you're used to the conversations with your neurospicy friends that are just like, well, this is happening. Why are you upset? That's what's happening. That's what's going on. Like, why is this terrifying to you? That's just what's happening. Just go with it. So when I'm in a group with all of my attention deficit or autistic music friends, that's our conversations. They're just very direct. And if you're not used to that kind of candor, it can be a lot. Where like Lenormand can be straight up mean. Lenormand is your sassy friend who's going to tell you the way it is. And Sorcery Underground is just going to drop a live bomb in your lap and tell you to figure it out. But Kipper, I think, is just, you know what it is? Kipper speaks like a German person. It is incredibly direct. They're going to tell you what it is. The train is going to be exactly on time. Everyone is going to go, well, you said we were going to come up to this place at exactly this time. You're 35 seconds late. Why are you 35 seconds late? We said 9:02, which means 9:02. That's what Kipper is. It speaks like it's speaking in German.
So Katie's responding, ND equals straight talk.
Yeah.
Straight talk. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned about the Sorcery Underground, because I was going to ask you, because knowing that like you got me into Sorcery Underground and how that like, woo, okay. And how you can soften or make it sharper depending on which decks you use in conjunction with it. It's very fascinating. But I was going to ask, like, between the two, Sorcery Underground and Kipper, which do you think is the more unforgiving of the two?
Oh, Sorcery Underground, 110%. And it's such a funny thing because the creator of Sorcery Underground is the sweetest person ever, and this deck is just a live wire. It's I love it though. I do. Sometimes I take it straight up. I feel like I'm describing like a cocktail. Sometimes I'll just take it neat, but other times I'll pair it with something. Kipper, I haven't felt adventurous enough to give it a buddy yet. Right now I'm just kind of figuring out its language, and then I really want to try it with Marseille because they're both very directional in the way that I read them. Like I read with the open reading method that Ben Dove and Hodorowski really sort of popularized. Not that other people aren't doing it, like Camellia Light. Like people read Marseille with directionality. It's not exclusively those two people, but so
they
I really
popularized it.
Yeah. So I like the directionality in Marseille, and I feel like it could work really well with the directionality that you see in Kipper. And then also I also haven't even used the set for its intended purpose, which is blending Lenormand and Kipper together.
That was my next question. That was my next question. Have you used them together yet?
Not yet, because I feel like Lenormand, I will read Lenormand for clients. I am proficient enough that I am confident in doing it for pay, but it's not something that it's not that I dislike it. It's just not a comfort to me. It's a tool that's there, but it's not my favorite. So like that's the thing. Like I feel like I'm learning Kipper and then adding in something I'm also not comfortable with. Doesn't feel super fun and comfy right now. But I've seen the readings that Tony Savory and Davy Jones on Instagram and everyone is doing, and they look so cool and so interesting, and the interplay is great. So I'm trying to work up to it. Once I get, yeah, I agree with Katie. That could be a lot, but I think it could work because Kipper definitely has a softness to it in comparison to Lenormand in my mind. So it could work out. I mean, like reading Thoth with Sorcery Underground mellows it, and you'd think that would be like the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I really thought that combination would have been like, whoo, but no, it really does calm it down and make it much more about like it feels very matrixy when you do that. Like it feels like, oh, it's all energy and it's all good and it's all in flow, and this person's flowing this way and this person's flowing that way. And I'm like, what the hell, man? like am I Neo? Am I the one right now like reading these?
Yeah.
It's kind of strange, and you would think that combination would have sharpened it, but it makes it much more in flow. Yeah, so what was it that I was looking at? The Siren Song, Lenormand, and Kipper. The like something that they wrote in the description, they almost called it they called it like cousins almost.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that assertion that it's like they're not sisters?
No.
You know, they're not sisters, they're not brothers, they're cousins.
Yeah, it's like when you put on like liquid eyeliner in the morning. Both eyes have eyeliner on them, but they're not like close, but they're definitely related. Like I think that's how I mean, it makes sense because Kipper was meant to be a response to the Lenormand. So it makes sense that the two of them have commonalities. Like I would say that they're definitely within the same family tree. Maybe they're distant cousins. Maybe they're like second cousins twice removed. Like there's some distance in there, but there's definitely referential material.
Yeah, so their description is the divination kit contains 2 oracles, a Kipper and a Lenormand. When used together, they provide the highest, fullest degree of possible interpretation. Unlike tarot and oracle decks, which are read intuitively, Lenormand cards are read metaphorically, and Kipper cards are read quite literally. Lenormand deals with the outer world, and Kipper deals with the interpersonal. The most common way to read Lenormand and Kipper is to treat the card meanings as words and read them in order. However, you were mentioning about Kipper and the directionality. So it's just like you can't really do that in the same way you would Lenormand, right?
Yeah.
There can be a certain amount of intuition in how you approach the card meanings, but they do have set meanings. The Kipper deck is not a card deck that has the capacity to address larger societal issues. It's more on a personal level aimed at the everyday realities of people's lives, and it reflects both the highest and lowest possibilities those lives can contain. It depicts people, societal roles, and personal states of being. And then there's 4 additional cards in that particular Lenormand deck: an extra child, man, woman, and dog. And for the extra dog card, the image is a cat.
Which is what I chose.
For the Kipper deck, there are 2 extra marriage cards for all types of unions, and the companion book contains instructions to create your deck of choice by removing unwanted options and mixing and matching. I think it's super fascinating what deck creators are doing. I give a really good example of this with the Meraki Tarot, that people are like foaming at the mouth for the 3rd edition. I just so happen to have the 2nd edition because Jamie sent it to me, and thank goodness, because I love that deck. But the fact that it has 8 additional oracle cards within the tarot deck is something that I would love to see more deck creators doing, and having this blending of oracle and tarot, the structural versus the more free flowing. That's really cool. But I do remember some people getting into controversy over it with the Lenormand, especially when Lenormand was really popular a couple of years ago, where it was very trendy to learn Lenormand, came out of nowhere. And I do remember Chiro, for example, getting into trouble with his beautiful Lenormand deck, but it was just it was almost too busy in its imagery, so people were just stop reading it like tarot. It's not meant to be read as tarot. But at the same token, it's just for the clouds card, there are some readers that read Lenormand and read the clouds card using where the shading is on the clouds card. So it's just I don't think you're going to be able to please everybody, but there are certain traditionalists that are just you can't make it too complicated. Otherwise, it's not, the intention of that particular deck. But also you can't make it too simple either, because then you might miss certain things that are happening. Like you were saying about the directionality and which way people are facing. That's important for Kipper, right?
Yes. I have a lot of thoughts on the topic because I like more traditional decks, but there are also certain decks that I frankly just will not use because of just certain imagery in them. You see it a lot with Sibylla decks. Sometimes those servant cards are a little interesting when it comes to how we portray servants and the concept of BIPOC people and all of that. It's just not kosher to me. So that's why I've put off learning Sibylla. I've been looking for a deck that I feel more comfy with, because it's yes, I know that it's a really old deck, but I just don't feel comfortable with a lot of that. And the same thing with I think it's great that Lenormand has so many significator options now, because that's the world that we live in. And because Kipper decks are a lot more traditional, and I like that we now have more modern Kipper decks that we get to use. I love a traditional deck. I collect old decks. I've made a YouTube video about how I don't cleanse them. Melissa thought I was crazy. It's a whole ongoing thing. And so I like that there's options. For example, in this Kipper, we have 2 men. We have 2 women. And then we also have a biracial couple.
Beautiful.
And it's great. Not to nitpick, but I almost wish we had more options for the marriage cards, because in reality, and I love Carrie, I love Tony. This is not a dig on them. It seems odd that the two options are white gays and biracial married couple. Like I'd want almost like, let's give two more in there just to like give us a little bit more of a rounded picture. Like for example, like I think like the Lua Lenormand is like by Mary Bento is like A plus plus, like perfect, because she has like a billion and one significator options. Not every deck is like that. Not every mass market deck is possible to do that in. It really depends, but I like that we're going somewhere, especially with these less common divination systems. Like for example, I don't have the deck yet. It's actually Thomas from Hermit's Mirror. He has a couple indie copies left on his website, but his deck, the Seaborn Kipper, was picked up by Llewellyn and is coming out early next year.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's like a lot of the cards are non-binary or gender ambiguous. And so it's like they're all like mermaidy sea creatures. Like it's great because you just avoid that whole question altogether. And he's also updated some of the card titles. Like instead of parlor, he's using living room to make it even more tangible. Nice. Like not everyone knows what a parlor is. You can Google it, but like let's just make a deck that is relevant to where we are now.
Where did that deck go? Oh, there it is. I found it. Never mind. There's a deck that so I was reading like different descriptions of Kipper and like what is similar to Kipper, and because there are certain people that are just like, oh, so you read it like Lenormand, and it's just like, but it's not really a Lenormand. It's not Lenormand though. You can't read it like a Lenormand when it's not Lenormand. But I was reading another article that basically said Kipper is read way more closely to the way you would read gypsy cards than Lenormand. And I apologize for using that particular slur because it is a slur, but unfortunately that is the name of one of the card decks that is out there. That is like kind of a cross between playing cards, kind of a cross between Lenormand. Like it's trying to do a lot of systems at once. And I don't necessarily know that it does any one system well. So it kind of becomes its own thing. So it kind of becomes its own divination system, basically. But that was like the comparison that I saw. And if for any of you that had that particular deck, that orange box with like the
witch on a broom.
Yeah, the witch on the broom or the witch stirring the cauldron. I can't remember which witch was which. It's read kind of similarly to that. So, and I'm not sure, Sophia, if you have that, but I'm fairly certain you have that because you do have the magpie tendencies like me.
I don't own a copy, but I did work at a witchy store for a hot sec, and so I've definitely played with it.
Like I just grabbed one of my decks that actually was given to me by a friend, and I want to continue to support this person. Cartomancercards.com, Elaine Benoit. This came out in 2018.
I love that deck.
Yeah. Mr. Tarot by Hilary loves this deck. And like I really thought it went missing because he went and he like took it from me because he likes it so much. Like I feel like this is something that he can wrap his head around and really understand. So this is the Cartomancer poker deck, archetypal playing cards. And then there's another, I'm pretty sure he has like two more decks that came out. One is like a more like shadow one. But when I looked at Kipper and when I was looking into tonight's topic, I was just like, where is that deck? You know, like I know I still have it, but it reminded me so much of like this deck too. It had that same kind of vibe to it. And I'm glad that it didn't get lost.
Yeah.
But like if you take a look here, it's not necessarily, it's definitely got more cards than 36 cards.
Yeah.
in the Kipper, but like this one has like shadow, ombre, um, morning herald, instinct. You know, like I had that feeling of like, oh, okay, yeah.
It reminds me, it's like a mix between. Do you have Anna Cortez's playing card oracles?
No.
It's very similar to the cartomancy play a poker cards. Very similar. She sort of
Okay.
has her own playing card reading system that's a lot more oracle based than just straight up playing card reading. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's 900 ways to read playing cards, but so she has her own system, and it kind of is a blend between the cartomancy, playing cards, and Kipper. So like between those three decks, you kind of get the same thing.
Cool. Cool. Does anyone have any questions for Sophia about Kipper? Is there like tell me a little bit about the cards themselves. Like, are they numbered in the same way that Lenormand is numbered? Does that matter? Does that make a difference?
They have numbers, so they do have numbers. I think they don't have playing card inserts. From my understanding, the numbers don't really have. I'm sure they have a correlation. I have yet to really find it. Aside from hope is purposely the end, unlike
Ah,
Lenormand, where the cross is the end, which is not really giving you something to go on there. It's like,
no.
and we're done, but and everything is terrible. Like that's very Lenormand in a nutshell. But so it ends with hope. So there's different types of cards in Kipper though, where Lenormand, like every card, I would say has equal value. In
Mm-hmm.
Kipper, they have equal value, but they have different purpose. So, like for
Got it.
example, you have your two significators. Traditionally, man and woman. Seaborn Kipper just uses, I can't remember, I think it's person one and person two. He just eliminates it altogether. But like
Mm-hmm.
one could have a more feminine lean, one could have a more masculine lean. So this
Mm-hmm.
is what Carrie Parrot, her art's so good. So it's
I
Siren
know.
1, Siren 2. And then there is a little gender in here because cards that look to the left are typically of Siren, the person 1, who's the more masculine figure. Cards
Mm-hmm.
looking right tend to have a more feminine lean because they're following the direction of the woman.
Got it.
Take it or leave it. You don't really lose much if you eliminate it. I know some people are very averse to the gender assignments in divination because like, do we really need more gender all up in
Right.
our business? But you can choose you can have it or take it or leave it. I think you don't really lose that much. So
Mm-hmm.
then you have your two significators, and then you have your other people. So this is where it gets a little shady because you have your rich girl, which could just be like an affluent woman who's very educated, having a great time, or she could be the other woman.
Ooh. Ooh.
Same with the rich gentleman. Rich gentleman could be a businessman, or he could be the guy you date before you meet who you actually marry. He's the guy you date, even though you know it's a fantastically terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's this guy. Here for a good
Yeah.
time, not a long
Not
time.
for not for a long time. Yep. Yep.
Then you have your good lady and your good gent. Good lady is a lot more calm than the meanings for good gent. Good lady is like a mother figure, a nurse, someone who's like supporting you, a mentor. A good gent is a father figure, a supportive figure, or he's the old guy that you cheat on.
Oh no. You can't hear you. Are you back? Uh-oh. I see you. I don't hear you.
Now it
That
should
was
be fine.
yeah, you're good. You're
Whatever.
good. Like literally you were just like what the good gent is blank. Like I can't remember what you said, but then it just went out. And I'm like, okay, like
Someone's
you were
upset.
saying like the good lady was the much calmer energy, not so much for the good gens, and then like we lost you for a second there.
Oh well, I just took the headphones off. They were too much trouble.
Too much trouble, too much energy. So
yes,
Katie is saying Wickham versus Darcy men. LOL.
No, for real, for real. Rich. Now that I'm like thrown off because of my headphone debacle, Rich Gent is like, he comes around, he drives a nice car, he takes you to nice restaurants, but he's either gonna A, defer to his mother 110%, or he's just not gonna be a fun guy. That's the other thing. I forgot. Good lady can come up as like the overbearing mother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Which that reminded me. Yeah. And then good gent, father figure, affluent man. But if you look at like older Kipper meetings, you can see it as like the rich old husband that you cheat on because you were forced to get married at 15.
Ah, I see.
So like there's that kind of energy as well. So, and then so those are your like person cards. You also have, there's some other ones that aren't as prominent as those four. You also have like false person, a liar, someone who's like playing you a fool, the mediator, someone who brings you together. And then you have more like feelings, actions, emotion cards, like illness, woe, expectation's a good one because it means that something's coming soon. Expectation usually means like 2 weeks. Parlor means 2 weeks, even though it's like living room. How could that mean 2 weeks?
It's just something that has developed over time, right?
Yeah. Like in my reading this morning, about will my visa get processed in time? The parlor card came up and I was like, yes, because the very nice lady at the Visa Center in Manhattan said, usually it's 3 weeks, but they've been coming back in 2. And I did my reading when I got home and I got parlor and I'm like, it bodes well, nice lady from the Visa place in Manhattan.
So Katie's saying this has a lot of Elizabethan feels to what you are saying.
Oh yeah, like it's fully 19th century German, but you can if you're a Bridgerton fan, you can get down with this pretty easily.
That reminds me, I need to go back and watch Bridgerton. I think
I'm so behind on it. I watched like I've been very Gen Z about it, and that all of my Bridgerton experience has been through tiny snippets on the Talk of Tick. On my Talk of Tick TV channel, where I just slide through and it's just Grey's Anatomy and Bridgerton.
Oh my God, do we have the same feed? That's ridiculous. Even though I've stopped watching Grey's Anatomy because I got mad. I realized exactly when I stopped watching Grey's Anatomy, and I realized it was only the second season in which something happened that made me super, super angry. And I was just like, nope, done. Can't do this anymore. Nope.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea. I thought it happened like way later. Nope, it was way early. I hopped out when the hopping out was good for me.
I had that with Peaky Blinders. I was like, Thomas Shelby is happy in season 2, and I'm okay with it ending here.
Is that played who Cillian Murphy?
Oh yeah, I love that.
Okay, I have to watch that. Not so much the Mr. Terror by Hilary wants to watch that because of the time period and and I just want to watch it to look at Cillian Murphy.
I mean, yeah, the casting is wonderful. The set design is beautiful, and so is Cillian Murphy. You can have multifaceted reasons for enjoying Blinders.
Yes, quite.
It's fun for the whole family.
He's literally the only reason that I was ever brave enough to watch 28 Days Later, which is a horror. It's horror, and I don't do horror. And but I did horror for him.
He's just so well constructed.
Yes, he's very, very pretty man. Jenny says I loved Peaky Blinders. All right, I have to watch Peaky Blinders. We are what are we watching? So we're gonna watch Outlander tonight. It's the mid-season finale. I know what's coming because I've read the books. He doesn't know what's coming. And we have to watch Heels, which is a Starz series on wrestling. And that's season 2, which is also very, very good. But we went backwards and we started watching Heroes from the beginning, season 1, when it was actually good. You know, we've been like trying to go backwards and see like, okay, like, because I don't think we ever finished Heroes because it was just so bad towards the end. Anyway, so does anyone have any questions about Kipper? Are we ready to do the mid-episode reading? Because like, let's see Kipper in action. Let's see the differences. Oh, one more question for Sophia before we move into the mid-episode reading. Have you used it with tarot yet?
No, I have been using it entirely independent, and that's my next step. My next step is stick it with Marseille, and then I'm not sure. See, like, I am very much one of those people where Thoth is my Tabasco. I put that shit on everything.
Rethink, yeah.
But I feel like it may be incongruous with the Thoth because the Thoth is so here and the Kipper is so here. So I'm thinking that I may try it with like a more friendly RWS. Like I was thinking Fountain Tarot could get like something that has like heavy emphasis on the RWS directionality. Because that's the other thing. I feel like a Thoth wouldn't make sense because it's pips, which is maybe what, like, I mean, but Marseille would make sense. But I feel like Thoth pips are different than Marseille pips in that Marseille pips can have a direction, where Thoth pips are like, would you like a bunch of lightning bolts? Here are your lightning bolts.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe something like a straight up RWS or something very similar, like now that I can't think of any RWS clones in this moment, like maybe Inkwitch could work.
I was just thinking Inkwitch.
Inkwitch could work. It's a softer RWS. I'm like looking in my pile of stuff, and so like that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, we'll see.
All right. So it doesn't look like there's any real questions about Kipper. I'm sure there will be questions that comes up, you know, like from the reading that happens. Ooh, Mr. Tarot by Hilary is making dinner right now as we speak.
Ooh. Very nice.
Oh my God, it's so good. That's delicious.
I love the spontaneous air fork. I love the air fork.
It's like the aces in the tarot. It's like out of nowhere. Yep.
It's
Okay.
like a cooking show where you have spontaneous food flying in from all angles.
So Katie is saying interested to see it in action. All right. So let's do the mid-episode reading. So for those of you, if it's your first time here, what we do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up the lottery jar. And all you're going to do is comment as soon as that comes up. So let me see here. We have the comment snake, which I'm going to go ahead and pull up here. And then we have the lottery jar. Yeah, and that's good. And let me see if we have the crawler. Where's the crawler? Oh, gosh.
I saw the crawler. It was crawling about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's crawling. It's just underneath.
I see.
Katie, can you not hear us anymore? Go silent. Oh, go silent because of the because of the comments. Well, that was your comment, so you're in it.
Too bad, Katie.
Too bad, Katie. If it happens to be you, it happens to be you.
Yeah.
But we'll leave it going for about 2 minutes, and let me find the countdown widget. Oh, poo. That's all right, Katie. Too late now. Yes, exactly. Contest closes in. Let's give it 3. Let's give it 3 minutes.
Because I'm just shuffling in the background.
As you shuffle in the background, yes. Too late now, Katie. You're in it, and depending on like We have a lot of viewers. We have a lot of live viewers tonight, which is really encouraging to me. It makes me think that a lot of people are interested in Kipper, interested in, you know, different divination systems, and Divination Lab. We've done this in different form before. You know, we just didn't call it Divination Lab at the time, but it is.
My thing with the Kipper is, you know how everyone has like their own like special woo-woo skill? My woo-woo skill with the psychicness seems to be exclusively about what tarot system is going to be popular. So like I'm feeling Kipper on this one. A lot of people have been loving the Siren Song kit. Like Melissa posted it. A lot of people have been posting this recently, which is more than I usually see Kipper, which is not at all. And so it's getting somewhere. Like Lenormand had its boom. We had like a brief Thoth blip that happened. And so then there was the Marseille experience that happened early 23. So I'm thinking Kipper or Sibylla for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't even like, I don't know a lot about Sibylla, but you know, and I think, and that might be what you were saying about before, your hesitancy to do Sibylla might be rooted in some of the problematic cards.
Yeah.
You know?
Not all Sibylla decks are like that. It's just the cheap ones on Amazon are. Oh, what sort of question is suited for Kipper? Anything, like, I wouldn't say just like straight up yes or no questions. You can do it, but I would use other systems for that. Like I like Lenormand because you can just do black red and call it a day. Yeah. But with Kipper, you can really ask anything. I've been asking in the mornings, like, how will my day of work go? You could really ask anything you would ask tarot to the Kipper. Maybe not what is the path for me reaching spiritual enlightenment? Like maybe not like those kind of tarot questions or like what's my true purpose? Like you could, but I feel like I would leave that more to tarot.
Well, I mean, the article that I was just reading from was saying not the best for like global stuff, like not the best for humanitarian stuff, you know, or on a global scale. It's more for personal, interpersonal relationships.
Like you could ask, like, will he ever propose? You can ask, like, what's my week gonna look like? Why is my boss being an asshole? Like you can ask like all of those kind of questions.
All right. Well, timer has run out, so we do have two people. We have Katie and we have Jenny. I mean, I could always put my thing in, but you know, I'm putting myself out there constantly with the weekend forecast coming for me. So like, let's not. I mean, we can always do it for shits and giggles after someone gets their mid-episode reading. And I can always ask a question about myself and put myself on the line. But let's go ahead and pick a winner.
Yes.
Drum roll. Da, 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 da. Thank you. And it is Jenny. Jenny, you can go ahead and put your question into the chat, and you know, if it's a question that's not suited for Kipper, I am quite sure Sophia will help you to reframe it. Yeah. So like we get that kind of shit happening all the time where it's just like people are very like, oh, I don't know if I can ask this, you know, and it's just like ask it and we can reformulate. You know,
that's half the job.
Right. It's just like we can ask about you know, how your ex-boyfriend is doing. We can definitely ask about it, but is that really the best use of your time?
Yeah.
You know.
The only thing I don't love about this deck is usually I'm obsessed with wiser cardstock. And this is a little thin for me. Should I consider looking for a second part-time job? Yes, we could do that. So I'm going to do a 3-card, and I'm going to start first with just my thoughts, and then I will be a little cheater McCheaterson and use my guidebook.
That's not cheating. That's just getting to know the deck. Let's put that out there. There was a time that we all did it with tarot, and I mean, I still do that with tarot decks when I'm learning tarot decks. So if I'm working with a tarot deck, especially if I'm doing a deck of the month that it's like completely new to me, that's what I'm doing, because I want to understand where the deck creator is coming from and what their thought process was. So, all right, I will shut up.
You're fine. Okay. Should Jenny consider looking for a second part-time job? It does shuffle nicely, despite being thin.
Now, are you just pulling 3 cards, or are you hunting the lady?
Sorry, someone's trying to get into me. I'm like, nope, not now. So I did pull 3 cards randomly. You can do with Lenormand where you pick a card for certain things. Yeah, but we are on ground level. We're getting there. But, okay. So we have the child, which can be just like Lenormand, new opportunities, new things. Expectation, looking for news, waiting up on something. And the house, having to do with your sense of security, financial things, literal house. So let's dig in deeper with some help of our lovely
guidebook,
Siren Song guidebook, to kind of help us stitch these things together.
So out of those 3 cards, there are similarities to Lenormand, because there is a child card in the Lenormand. There is a house card in the Lenormand.
Absolutely.
There isn't an expectation card in the Lenormand, but like 2 out of the 3, those are Lenormand.
Yeah. I'm assuming right off the bat the child is newness. So this is about the contemplation of the job. So Tony describes the child as the youngest of the Kipper characters in the deck. This is a child, and the child still plays with seaweed and shells and is dependent on the security of a parent's loving tentacles. On occasion, it's still the spark in the siren's eye, or it's a bundle of joy already cooing in the stork's beak. We're studying the surrounding cards. Are the child's playmates well-behaved or very naughty? In alignment with auspicious cards, child brings a happy story, one of new beginnings, projects, attitudes, or directions. So, leaning towards new job, new experiences. Expectation is pretty on the nose. It's you're expecting something, you're looking for something, anticipation and patience. I just word saladed those a little bit. So it's a dreamy presence, wishes, hopes, desires. This is also a wish fulfillment card, so we're really moving forwards in that way. So the expectation card is really looking towards the child. So it seems like you're expecting that you should start looking for the second job. And that also leads to just question formulation in general. If you didn't think you needed a second part-time job, you wouldn't go, should I look for a second part-time job?
Right.
So like it's already on your mind. So that's what I'm seeing with expectation, especially since it's looking towards the child here. Also that relationship. It's looking towards our child card, and it's showing that it's moving in the direction of needing that job. So let's move into the house card. So with the house card, structure, foundation, stability, Tony says, house can be a significant building, such as where the client resides or works. It can be the qualities which this building affords: stability, protection, and security. Or house might symbolize that warm and grounding sentiment of belonging. So I'm seeing this as, what's interesting though is expectation is looking away from this. So it seems like you know you need it, but you're trying to postpone it as long as possible, is the vibe I'm getting. Because does anyone really want more work? Especially if it's not particularly fun work. So that's what I'm seeing, is that you know that you probably should start looking for a second job, but you're putting it off as long as possible, which is understandable.
Nice.
I'm going to give us a clarifier, because you can do, clarifier is occupation.
Yes. So yes, but you're stalling, so stop stalling.
Yeah.
Jenny, let us know if that resonates for you, if that's helpful for you.
I see. And then the Tony quote at the end of the occupation listing is, the closer occupation slides up to the significator, the more work and effort dominates their life.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it seems like it is time, but you're delaying it as long as possible for understandable reasons, because do we really want to learn a new job? Do we really want to have to add more and more onto our plate? But at the end of the day, living is expensive. Mm-hmm. That's what I got.
And I mean, like, it doesn't, like, I mean, remembering that what you asked, basically, should I consider looking for a second part-time job? It is a yes or no question. And it seems like the answer is yes. And here's all the other stuff that's surrounding that yes. But it doesn't have to be an unenjoyable second part-time job. You can always make it more palatable in your search, but the answer, like the short answer, is yes.
I'm going to sneak over to the other side of my room to grab my laptop charger.
Yep.
I'm going to pop right over.
Yep. You're good. All we can see is the beautiful background on there. And I'm going to go ahead and update, hopefully, the agenda here so that I can take away these white lines because they're bothering me. I like the underneath. I like the concept of it, but like the execution is lacking. Hold on. Let me see. There. Okay. Transparent background. Download. More?
The other fighter.
I don't know which one I like better. Oh, that's definitely hotter though.
Yeah, it's got a kick, maple cake in it or something.
Oh my goodness. That's good. Both of them are good.
Okay, I'm back. The decision was ring light or laptop.
Oh.
We'll go with laptop.
Laptop.
Yeah, VLive must really be a battery sucker because I was on like 95. So that's good to know for the future.
Hold on a second. Let me fix some of this because I updated it. I also got more pork chop.
Very good. Oh, I think Jenny responded to us.
Yes, let me go ahead and display that. Yeah, I like that a little bit better so that we're not locking us off. I'm on the fence, but my current employer has me on a hiatus until after Labor Day. So yes, makes perfect sense. Awesome. Gotcha. Cool. And I like how it's just like it's really interesting that the exact cards were coming up like when you clarified it, it was like the occupation card. In my experience, when I've been working with Lenormand, I have like said almost like a little like prayer beforehand when working with Lenormand, like myself or with my clients. It's just like, please make this be easy to understand. Like, please make this answer be as clear as possible for myself and for my client. And most of the time, once I've said that prayer, it really has been very like, meh. It's just like, you need to do this. Thank you, Sophia.
Of course.
That's awesome. Yeah,
That's
I mean, like,
with
Go ahead.
Lenormand that scares the crap out of me is it's like I trust it, and I also do the little like, oh please, 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 just do the thing before it
Right.
works. And the
Right.
fact that I have to please, please, please it is what makes me not want to use it for clients.
Mm.
Is it's
Mhm.
like, I mean, it's not like I'm a stranger to supplication. I am very much a devotee of a strong lady goddess. So like it's not like I'm unused to that, but it's just like I don't want to be at the mercy of my tools ever in a
Mhm.
professional setting. Like that just makes
Mhm.
me feel icky, which is why
Mhm.
I typically I'll bring a Normand to a gig, and it usually sits in the gig bag.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I will usually bring it, and if I'm feeling pulled to bring, I will bring it, and if I'm being pulled to bring it, I will use it because there will be someone that just needs it. Like, it's just like they don't want to see the esoteric tarot. They don't want to see like how the Eight of Cups translates into like bitch just leave him, or like they're not coming back. Like that particular client needs like the scythe, you know. They need the scythe, they need the coffin, they need like that imagery to really like hit home for them, you know, like, oh yeah, this is over, you know. And then there are other clients that's just like, oh, did you bring the little cards with you? And I'm just like, that's Lenormand, because they are used to my vintage Kendra's vintage petite Lenormand that I have in a little green bag that's like about yay big, because the cards are going to be smaller for I'm guessing also for Kipper, right? Like Lenormand, both Lenormand and Kipper have the grand tableau, or the what is it called in Kipper?
Gross Tafel.
Gross Tafel, which is big table, right? So you're using all 36 of the Lenormand cards or the Kipper cards. So it stands to reason that those cards are going to be skewed a little bit smaller, so that you actually have the surface area to be able to put all 36 cards on the table at the same time. And you can't really do that with tarot. You can't lay out all 78 cards of a tarot deck in a reading. Like that's just not the system.
People do it though.
People do it, but I'm not that kind of reader. I don't have that kind of time or space. The last time I laid out my cards to that degree, we spelled out tarot during my like original photo shoot for my website. That's the last time I've laid out all 78 cards of a tarot deck to make a fun image, but I have not read those cards. So, you know, knowing that that the size of them is going to be smaller to fit that particular, you know, spread, basically.
It's still kind of big though. Like that's the thing. Like I was trying to do one because like full disclosure, most of my like all of my Instagram photos occur while I'm in bed with like a like the carving board that you use for like big
chopping meat.
Yeah. I have one of those that I rip the prongs that hold the meat out of, and I use that on my lap while I'm in bed in the morning, half awake. Which is why if you see my posts when they first go up and there's a lot of spelling mistakes, it's because I'm gonna fix that in an hour when I'm actually up
awake.
Yeah. So like that's the thing. Like my cutting board is a little too small for 36 cards. So I'd have to like have like a table situation and then do what I did for my year ahead spread that I did, and like stand on a chair and hover over my dining room table.
Yep.
And like that's the thing, like I do a lot of Zoom client readings, and like I don't have the space for that. Unless you're okay with me like holding you on my phone while I stand on a chair and point from a distance, which I think is not very professional, but maybe very dynamic. And that's the thing, like I would really like to do a grand tableau with all 78 tarot cards. Like I've been really thinking about it recently, not like a recurrent thing that I do regularly, but like just try it as like an exercise for directionality. I'm thinking about it. Is like a weekend project. Maybe that'll be my Theresa Reid do nothing this weekend project. Is
That's a thought.
Is move the table in my living room and lay all the cards out on the rug and hover.
instead of packing.
We're getting there. Like this morning was nice Visa lady. I took the train and made my pilgrimage to Park in Lexington to the Visa office, and I gave the nice lady my color-coded and paper-clipped documents that I labeled. And then I panicked about my Visa because it's supposed to come back in 3 weeks. I think we have a funky person in the YouTube comments, but I don't know how to moderate the YouTube.
Well, you know, I don't think they're funky necessarily, but they are asking a question. And I mean, like, I'm open to seeing what Kipper has to say for it. So,
Okay.
I mean, new start. Like, typically we don't do that. We already did the mid-episode reading, but since we're playing with this divination system of Kipper, like, I'm gonna be gracious, and we'll display your comments and see what Kipper has to say. So I fought with my mom because she said a few wrong things to my boyfriend that she shouldn't. I want to know if things will be fixed very soon. Now, keep in mind that this is a divination system. We can't tell you what to do. We can't offer guarantees. That's just not what that's about. But we can see what the cards have to say.
Yeah. I follow your lead, Hilary. Okay.
And then after that, you can pull a few cards for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with my mom because she said a few wrong things to my boyfriend. She shouldn't. Okay. Let's see what we got.
So keep in mind that this is the Kipper system, which is 36 cards. It is not tarot, just to let you know.
Okay. So I have child, rich girl, and sorrow. So let's see what we got. So child, we know now. We have all collectively experienced the child card. So the child card, new beginnings, fresh start, maybe some hopes of reconciliation on the horizon. But the fact that these two cards are looking completely opposite directions may mean that things are not aligned, becoming eye to eye. And then sorrow at the end doesn't bode super well. So let's see how this works in combination. So, rich girl, the definition from Tony is sunning herself on the rocks. Rich girl hasn't a care in the world except whether to seduce or shipwreck some unsuspecting sailors. The soft bloom of youth warms her cheeks, and the world is still very much her oyster. She's a sister, a daughter, a lover, or in combination with other cards, a formidable rival or the temptress, the other dreaded woman. Entitled, two-faced, and impressionable can also be keywords to describe rich girl. Surrounded by good Kipper cards, she can forecast happiness and a sunny, positive attitude. However, catch her far away or hanging out the wrong cards, and the sky blackens and is inauspiciously placed to be forewarned of backstabbing, falseness, jealousy, or a betrayal. She ain't pretty, she just looks that way.
Ooh.
So so she's looking directly at our sorrow card. Deep distress, sadness, sorrow, worries. Suddenly and silently, and without warning, sorrow emerges windward from a cloak of darkness with its colors hoisted high. This is a mighty man of war, heavily armed with anguish and intent to broadside, cripple, and carry calamity into previously calm waters. Positive cards in the reading may turn this situation as sorrow being in the past. There's also a degree of size in these cards, just like tarot cards, the matter of size. Tom Benjamin talks about that a lot, about like some cards are large in size, some cards are small in size, usually relating to minor cards, the majors, but also just like 10 of pence is bigger in scale than 2, etc. like that. So woe is our small sadness in Kipper. Murky thoughts is our medium, and then sorrow is a more profound emotion. So what I'm taking, so using some intuition here, I'm assuming that some of the comments that may have been made may have been around the nature of potential promiscuity from your partner. And it seems like, especially with Rich Girl and the child, it seems like maybe it was suggested that he may have a wandering eye, or perhaps in his past he may have some skeletons in his closet. So I think what I would recommend, just based off of intuition in this situation, is I'm not seeing anything regarding the situation resolving. It seems like this is going to be a situation that kind of muddies the waters for a bit. I am going to pull a clarifier, which is letter. So let's see how letter can impact our situation. So letter is exactly like the Lenormand card here. It's correspondence, text messages, calls, everything. So what I would recommend, if you're feeling up to it, because I don't know your relationship with your mother, relationships with parents are a very complicated thing at times. And so I, of course, don't want to push you to do something that you're not comfortable with, but I would talk to your mom without your partner and sort of try to get to the bottom of what is it that your mom is seeing that you may not be seeing about your partner. Has she heard information that you may not be aware of? Does she have lived experience that makes her come to these conclusions? Because what tends to happen, especially when it comes to a parental relationship and a romantic relationship, is you're inclined to protect your partner because that's the person you've chosen to be in your life. And sometimes external people may see things that you don't see initially. So it could be fruitful to speak to your mother and see why she's saying these things. Her claims could be 110% unfounded. And then you may want to decide that you keep your mom on an information diet regarding your partner, just to avoid those sort of inflammatory comments like that. Your mom may provide some insight that can really change the picture here. But either way, it seems the only way out of this situation is through some conversation. Only way out is here. I don't think letting this just sit is going to solve things here. I think you need to actually dig everything up and get it all out on the table.
And intuitively, I was getting more like this. I feel like it's been festering for a while, like underneath, and finally, like something was said. So it's just like, I like, whether it's true or not, we have no way of knowing. It's more like, I feel like there was no tact in the situation, and that's kind of like what's happening right now. So if you're interested in diving more into, a reading with Sophia or a reading with me, you can totally do that. You can book a reading with Sophia at benevolentcorvus.com. And yeah, let me see here. And a reading with Hilary. And you can book a reading with me at tarotbyhilary.com. So you got a couple of different options, but that's a freebie for you since we're experimenting with this particular divination system.
Yeah.
There you go. I hope it helps.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, that's an extra example of of Kipper and what it can do, and how it's different from tarot. And yeah, very cool.
It's a funky little system.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for thinking.
Yes,
and Jenny,
best of luck.
Yes, Jenny says, good luck, new start. Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said about like possibly having to keep her on an information diet. It's so painful it's so painful to have to do that with family members, where it's just like, why can't I just, be able to tell you everything? But sometimes with certain toxic family members, we can't. We have to limit our information because they could use that as weapons against us. It sucks.
For sure.
So, yeah.
It's not an easy position to be in, but like speaking from my own experience, there are definitely times that I've been with people and like, I don't know how you could possibly see a problem with this person. They're not
Right.
the elitist asshole. And then you realize like 6 months later, oh wow, yeah, whoop, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of talk going on about narcissism and the gray rock method and having to like dealing with narcissism like that. I feel like is a huge buzzword that's been going around lately, where people are like suddenly waking up and realizing like, oh shit, like, and once you see it, you can never unsee it.
Oh, absolutely. Like one of the first, like how Hilary and I started talking is I volunteered for one of her practice tapping sessions, and it was all about my ex, and it was about like how to start releasing that and moving forwards. And then I finally did 6 months after the tapping.
Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah.
It takes a while sometimes.
Yeah, that has something to do with the concept of tapping. Tapping is great, but sometimes you just need that little extra bit of like, you just need it thrown in your face.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think it's very interesting that I became certified as a tapping practitioner, because originally when I started like learning about tapping and I tried tapping, I'm just like, this doesn't do anything. Like, this sucks. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, it didn't affect me at all. I had no releases whatsoever. It was just, it didn't work for me. And I think that sometimes it's because we're not ready. And, I hope with a lot of people, and this is not just for tapping, this is just like, I hope people go back and revisit the things that they weren't ready for, because you never know. You're a completely different person today than you were a year ago or a year before that. You don't know what's going to help you. And don't like close the book on something. If it didn't work for you the first time, it may just be that you weren't ready for that particular modality. This is true for tarot, for Kipper, for Lenormand, for tapping. It's true of anything. Like, try it out. It might not work for you, or you might not be ready for it, and revisit it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I just yesterday went through, because I've done daily tarot readings for a while, but like I scrolled back through really old Instagram posts and I went through my tarot journal, and I like to go back in with a different color ink and sort of write observations back in it. And I've really enjoyed that. I never did it before. Like usually a lot of my readings were like, this is the moment, this is what's happening, I've read it, gone, moving on. And like that's how I treat a lot of my readings for myself. But I tell my clients to look back at their recordings, and so I should listen to my own advice. I'm crazy. I'm like, I have good ideas sometimes, and like never ever for the most part use them on myself, because life gets busy and everything. And so I went back in with a different colored ink yesterday and really learned a lot. I hear Mr. Terror by Hilary in the background.
Yeah, you heard that one?
Yeah.
that was a good one, honey. Yeah. Compliments to the chef, which is you. Go on. But yeah, like going back and seeing the the newsletter that I wrote at the beginning of this month was real autobiographical, because I got a notification that my live journal was like, it's just like, this is your whatever anniversary of live journal or signing up for live journal. And so I went back and I looked at my journal entries, and I'm just like, holy God, why did you put that on the internet? Like
that was a big newsletter.
That was a long one. I was just like, buckle up, buttercups. Like, this is a long one. Get yourself a cup of tea or a coffee or something stronger, because it's a long one. But all of it was so necessary for me to like read and be like, and I did exactly what you were saying, where it's just like going back in different ink,
Just laughing at Katie.
And just laugh at, like, yeah, hold on. So first of all, the profound comment from Katie, being ready is really important part of changes occurring. If you aren't ready, it won't happen. Very true, Katie. And then the funnier, Mr. Burpee, Tarot by Hilary, is going for competitive burping. LOL. Did you hear that?
The duality of woman.
The duality.
We love
yes,
you, Katie.
everyone could hear your burping.
It was only the one that we really heard. But I also had someone trying to break into my room to probably dump stuff, and then a fire truck. It's a casual learning lab environment. We're getting to know each other. We're all family here.
In a safe space.
Yeah.
And I think like that's like having these realizations and like going back, it's very important, but you're not going to be able to have those realizations go back and look at them unless you're willing to like write them down somewhere, record them somewhere, so you can go back and look and see how far you came. Because like one of the realizations I had was that, you know, I looked at some of the entries, and you know, my partner at the time that I lived with showed up at my retail job at that time with like 24 purple roses. Okay. And then I was just like thinking about the juxtaposition of, okay, that's the same person that called me the C word and said that I might need to look into premenstrual, what was it? PMDD. So like the really extreme version of PMS, basically, where it's just like, I'm crazy, like basically call me crazy. And it's just like, oh, okay, but that's the same person that gave me 24 purple roses. But that's also the same. So that's love bombing.
Oh,
love
for sure.
Bombing. Hello.
And as someone who has the PMDDs, it's a big accusation. I am not a pleasant person in those times, and I cloister myself away, and I inform my friends and family that I will be back in 14 business days.
Right. But it's just like, that is a real thing. Yes. But like, maybe don't get like, that is the equivalent of saying, oh, you're just mad at me because you're on your period. Like, that is like bananas insulting.
Oh, yeah.
Like really, really bad. And so all of these memories were coming up for me as I was looking back. And if I hadn't recorded them, I'm just like, okay, you know, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have put that on the internet. Like, fine, whatever. Like, LiveJournal was just like trauma dump everywhere, you know, and no trigger warnings at that time. Like, no one knew what that was. But if I hadn't written it down, I wouldn't be able to look back and then bring that information also back to the people that read my newsletter or are my tarot clients or are my tarot students, because there were definitely some things that I had to learn. And there were definitely some things that came up in the cards that were just like, hey, this is going to suck for a little while, but you're not going to learn this any other way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you know, and so like it brought me to this point of like, what is the purpose of divination then? What is the purpose of tarot? What is the purpose of Kipper or Lenormand or any divination system? It's not to know everything, because life would be pretty freaking boring. And I was able to then go back and say to my past self, hey, by the way, Hilary, like you didn't stay with that person. You ended up learning the lessons and leaving them. You ended up getting together with someone and getting married and been married for 8 years now to a person that you really didn't expect to be married to, you know, like you, like all of these lessons happened. And if I had seen it coming in the cards, I don't necessarily know if my life would have been different or, you know, lesser because of it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the philosophical side of the live stream.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
We get
I feel
weird
like every
here.
time we talk, we get there.
We go deep.
Every time I'm on the live, it's like, yes. Have we considered consumerism? Have we considered... It's like, welcome to Tarot by Hilary and Benevolent Corvus Live. have you considered the problematic nature of ancient Italian Sibylla-decks recently? And how this impacts the public consciousness?
Oh yeah, we go there.
Have you
Have you
considered gender?
Have you considered how the patriarchy is ruining everything?
No, Katie's right. It does. Tarot does pull you in, because the thing is, it's like,
yeah.
you don't discover. I mean, maybe it's probably different now that tarot is so in the mainstream. But like, even when I was first starting, like, you don't suddenly decide to like go down the tarot wormhole because you're doing great. Like, it's usually like the catalyst is like, wow, I've had a horrible breakup, or I have an interesting relationship with my mom, or I have an interesting relationship with self, or
Yeah.
like my therapist is a little woo and gave me a Rider-Waite. Like, that's like a lot of the stories you hear. Like the therapist one more recent probably, but like,
yeah,
you don't get into becoming like a full-time mystic because you're really thriving in your 9 to 5. Like, you can, but it's not the most common story. So I feel like a lot of us are a lot more willing to go to these places because we're actively doing that self-work already. Right. And so we're already in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have therapy on Fridays, and like Therapy Friday, right?
Therapy Friday. Yep.
So it's like I have my therapist is thankfully so woo. Like, in my last therapy session, we were discussing Sedona, Arizona, and vortexes, and sharing ghost stories. And so, like, you also have to have a therapist that's chill with that, which is more common now. But it's like in my tarot sessions, in my therapy sessions.
Sometimes they're both.
Sometimes they're both. I'll sometimes talk about tarot readings I've done and stuff like that, and we can use. And in my therapy sessions now, we use the cards as a vehicle for explaining certain things I can't explain. So if I
shorthand.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great shared language if you meet people who know that shared language. And I'll be like, I'm feeling very Seven of Pence today. Like sometimes the garden needs a year off and you plant the potatoes and you need the nitrogen in the soil. But other times you just really want those tomatoes to grow. And that's where I'm at, like with my visa and everything. And like, that's what we were talking about in my therapy session. And so it's like, I feel like that's why we're so able to just quickly go whoop into like all of like the abyss stuff, is because we're already there.
Right. We are, totally. And stuff that we talk about here, like these are just pieces of paper. They're pieces of paper with stories on them, and how can they possibly tell us about our life experience and all of its joy and sorrow? And it's just like, because they're made to do that.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
these systems were created to help us understand this experience called Earth School, basically. And by the way, if you're not listening to the House of Herby podcast, like, you absolutely should listen to the House of Herby podcast. It's so good. The other day I'm catching up. I'm not caught up yet. But I just listened to the Surviving Narcissism episode, which is why it's like very top of mind for me right now. But I think it was a couple of episodes before that was about like what happens when we die, which is, super, super fun episode name. But they were talking about how there's these commonalities of near-death experience stories, or, past life regressions of people choosing to reincarnate on Earth. And it's just like, because they want a challenge, and it's just like, that hits, that tracks.
My coven sister Connie talks I cannot remember the name of the guy, and I want to say it's Michael Bolton, but I know it's not, because that's a singer that I'm just thinking of his SNL collaboration for the pirate ship song he did about Jack Sparrow, and that's not the name of the guy, but I think it's Michael something. And it's like Journey of Souls and like all of those kind of books.
They mentioned that in the podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I find it so interesting, and she's a lot more well versed on it than I am, and she is more concretely on board with that theory of that we form these contracts for the experiences we're meant to have.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I get it and I agree with it to a degree. But I think with certain atrocities, I cannot imagine that being a soul contract.
Yes.
So I think that there
Yes.
maybe is some sort of thing where like you break your contract and then there's like maybe retribution on the other side for that. Like I could buy that version of events, but like I think it's interesting, the concept of coming back because you want to. Because like I always oscillate between, because like my thoughts regarding the thereafter are very incongruous. Because like I work with a goddess and I believe in the overworld, believe in that 110%. I also have had ghost experiences. I definitely believe in spirits. I believe in ancestor communication. I believe in ascended masters. Yet a large part of me believes that it's a light switch.
Right.
And so how do you reconcile spirits, ascended masters, spirit guides, and deity with we die and that's it?
That's it.
Because those don't
They don't match.
They don't match.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I believe in an afterlife. Maybe it's like a selective thing. Like if you do really good on your math test in 5th grade, you get to ascend. But like, I don't know.
It's like, okay, I'll watch The Good Place for the 50th time now. You know?
Like that's the thing, is it's like, because I've thought about it. Like, is the because I've been told from a lot of people who have had near-death experiences, or not that I know that many, or my grandmother is a straight up medium and she talks to spirits all the time, and it's just like she says that it's exactly like here but with no stress is what she's been told most frequently.
Interesting.
And I don't know how that translates, because like there are a lot of people, politicians specifically, that I'm like, I don't know if it's the good place if I'm with you guys. Like like I don't want to hang out with you. I don't like you here. Like it's like stuff like that, or like my 5th, like your bully from 4th grade. It's like, I'm sure you grew as a person, but like I don't want to hang out with you. Like, so like I think about that all the time. Like if I believe in all of these like extrasensory experiences, then I feel like I have to believe in a thereafter.
Well, I mean, like that was the biggest. Most of the time, you know, if somebody is a professional psychic, we're gonna have an unusual religious or spiritual perspective. I'm just gonna say it. There are talented tarot readers and talented psychics out there that are Christian. I'm not going to, you know, deny that, but like, just so happens that the two of us are pagans, basically. We're witches, basically, you know, for lack of a better term. Like we can get into the specifics, but the concept that really threw me about divinity in particular is that spark of the divine is present within all of us. So it gets very, very difficult sometimes to remember that the people that like pantsed you in 4th grade have a spark of divinity in them.
Yeah.
You know, like that means you're enemies too. It's just like, how do you wrap your brain around that?
Yeah. The way that I reconcile it is that like you're given, I feel like you're given that as a gift, and you can choose to open that box or keep it closed. Just like with your brain, you can choose to do the self-actualization work that it takes to be like a decent human that cares about others and doesn't show up at work with roses and then flip or like do what my exes did. But like it's just like you can choose to do the work that it takes to be a decent human, or you can not.
Yeah.
And those are both two paths that you can respect or not respect. But that I think it's that they choose not to access
that part of themselves. Yeah. So Katie says, my mother had a near-death experience and she said it was pain-free and lovely to be in, but she had to come back. She didn't have a choice in that, it appeared. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's so much commonality in like when people are doing that research, that it's just like that white light, the tunnel, the this, the that, or feeling surrounded by people or from spirits, or like the people that like hospice nurses say this a lot, where they're just like they see someone, you know, or they call that person by the name and that person has already passed on, but it's like their partner or their mother, you know, and it's as if they're seeing them or present, you know. And they also, what else was it? There was one thing that like Diana Gabaldon writes this in out in the Outliner series. I can't remember which book, but it's one of the main books. And it's a throwaway kind of moment. Like, I'm not spoiling anything by saying it, but like Claire says, Claire talks about like experiencing a patient of hers passing, and the person like looks beyond and goes, "Ooh," and then passes, as if they've seen the most beautiful thing that they've ever seen. And they're just like, so she has no way of knowing what that thing was, but she knows that it can't possibly be bad.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. Like, I feel like I've seen too much to really knock it.
Right. Like, it's just like, okay, if, and especially if like your grandmother is a medium, and I'm sure you've probably gotten messages and had some had experiences as well. It's just like, okay, well, where is that coming from then? You know, it's just like, I've had it validated by other people that it's just like, yes, that person, you know, wore that purple hat every Sunday, or, you know, sang that song, or wore that perfume, you know, or, you know, had that exact conversation. Like where does that information come from? Yeah, Christianity does have reincarnation. It's in Matthew, but it has mostly been removed because power and money-hungry humans in the respective church. Yeah, follow the money.
Yeah, not to get us too political, but I read something the other day that I found fascinating. It was an article discussing evangelical Christian leaders and how they were horrified because their congregations were starting to turn on the teachings of Christ because they felt like his Sermon on the Mount was weak. So radical Christians have decided that Jesus is too much of a liberal soft boy for their taste.
Oh my God.
Isn't that horrific?
Wow.
Like, every once in a while, the snake churches have to like bring in some like OG Jesus to like keep it consistent, I suppose. Because like you can't just like come up with all your own material, I guess. So once they go back to the source material and they talk about the Sermon on the Mount, they thought the congregations, this is like a widespread thing that's been happening, have been starting to say that they find the Sermon on the Mount weak because it's feeding the masses, and it's him laying out like you should love thy neighbor and all of those things that are like pretty core.
Yeah, that's tenets. Like a core tenet of Christianity.
That's like the point.
That's not the golden, is that not the golden rule?
It is. That's like the plot. And so that's the thing, is that like these people have been engaging with Jesus fan fiction for so long that they're just not used to the real source material. Yeah, exactly. Jesus is too much of a socialist leftist.
Wow.
And I just thought that was so Kipper, yeah. But like I thought that was so interesting to read that I'm like, oh, I don't like where this one's going.
So on that note, let's do the weekend forecast.
Yeah. We always end up though.
It really is.
Like, anytime the two of us are on a live, it's like
we go,
Jesus is a socialist.
Jesus is a socialist. Oh,
I'll take that one on the chin. I won't put that on you, Hilary. I'll take responsibility for that one.
Oh my God. Actually, what deck do I have here? Do we want to just do Kipper for the weekend forecast? I mean, we might as well.
Should we get spicy and mix Kipper with something?
Do you want to do that live?
Let's do it. We'll have the first one. What do I have with me? Okay, here I'm not gonna do Lenormand. I'm gonna do tarot. But here are our options, folks. I have Ashira, which is Thoth. I have a vintage copy of the Mythic Tarot. Oh, Hilary, you haven't answered your question yet.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, that's okay.
We'll pass. We don't have to do it
I'm
now.
good. I'm good.
I
I'm
have what's more Thoth, and then I have this is where I out myself as a Thelemite Wagnerian. I have the Ring Cycle Tarot.
Jeez.
But yeah, so those are my and I do have Inkwitch here. And this I also this might hurt, but Ring Cycle Tarot feels like too much.
Okay.
I don't know if we need Wagner on top of our Kipper right now.
Why didn't you go with your initial inclination to do something soft?
Let's do Inkwitch.
The Inkwitch.
Let's do Inkwitch. We need some lightness in here now that I've gone all hammer swinging leftist.
Dude, we don't need this right now. Like you don't need to have every episode with cards coming after me, please. Like what is this?
Give Hilary a break. I just radicalized her whole live stream.
Like what is that? Out of control now. Oh wow. Is that true?
No. Ring Cycle
No.
Tarot has 78 cards, but it's a huge guidebook. And I think Katie's making a joke about the opera being so damn long.
Oh, I see. Yes.
It is if you're an opera fan though, or if you're in like a 19th century German mood and you feel like your Kipper deck isn't enough for you, get the Ring Cycle Tarot. She lays all of the cards onto the archetypes of the Ring Cycle, and instead of just doing different characters for each card, she's using different scenes of the Ring Cycle characters as different cards. She also has a musicology degree from Northwestern and includes in the back of the guidebook several treatises on the Ring Cycle. And it's fascinating. And I'm bringing the deck to London because I'm using it in my master's thesis. But for Jungian archetypes and Wagner and magic. In my
Jeez.
Yeah.
Just some light reading for everybody.
Yeah. It's a great deck though. It's a great deck if you like opera. It's a really well done deck. I just hate the borders on it. But let's do the weekend forecast before I bore you all with my opera and magic lectures. It's the thing. You can't give an academic an inch. We will take the mile. Thank you, Katie. I try.
Yeah, she's saying it for me. So just waiting for my comments. I love my comment assistant. I'm so glad that it just I don't have to click anything. I just let the positive ones pop naturally. It's very nice.
All right, let's do our weekend forecast. I'm going to pull 3 Kipper and then debating if I want 1 tarot clarifier or 3. I'm going to start with the Kipper and see where it flows.
Okay.
So this is our weekend forecast. Let's see how this works. Because I've found with Kipper, I want a more direct question. So let's see what we got. Okay. Bit of a mixed message. We're going to see how this goes. Because we have prison, but we also have get together and great fortune. So
interesting
mix. Because prison isn't necessarily prison. Prison can mean just a lot of responsibilities, commitments. It could also mean bureaucratic nonsense. If you also made a pilgrimage to Manhattan recently to get your visa processed, this could be you. It's a beautiful building, and the UK floor has scones, but I would like to not have to go back there. Wonderful people.
So that's a little bit amusing that it's just no, the cards are not coming for Hilary this time around. They're coming for the wielder of the cards, and that's Sophia this time. So
yeah,
go on.
Prison, constraints, misfortune, secrets. With all the usual suspect cards, court and mediator, prison can mean an actual court-imposed imprisonment. But mostly, I'll show you the card. The implications of this card have to do with a jail-like state of being, a solitary confinement where momentum has been remanded into custody. In the hierarchy of real estate cards, prison is the largest, most sprawling campus-style building, distinguished by the presence of formidable gatekeeping, controlled exit and entrance procedures, visitor ID cards, and official frowners wearing sensible shoes. So this could mean like bureaucratic nonsense. So Get It Together is looking away from prison. So this can mean that we're moving away from this bureaucratic nonsense and moving forwards into getting together with friends and good fortune. So let's see how that pans out. I eventually am going to put tabs in this thing because I think I need like a flippy guide. So getting together, meeting, friendship, rendezvous with friends. When sirens hook up to do what they know and love best, the atmosphere is happy and charged with heightened possibility. When they come together, the air fills with harmonics and pinpricks of light that glint off the waves. Get Together is not only about formal meetings or casual get-togethers, but also that euphoric feeling that's shared by peers, by peeps and peers, leaders or lovers who are on the same wavelength bound by a common purpose. This is a connector card that links the left and right cards in the storyline. Okay, so it's linking prison to great fortune.
Okay.
Interesting.
All
So
right.
great fortune is pretty on the nose. Luck, positive outcomes, all good things, smiley face. No matter the longitude or latitude, in front or behind, whether it's tickling the siren's feet or dancing on their head, it's all good, all the time. The most festering black-hearted cards could land threatening to make the querent's life a living hell, and great fortune shines so brightly that she diffuses their storm. Your ship has come in with great fortune is spotted in the spyglass. It's the Kipper's harbinger of empowering messages, predominantly yes, and you can do it. Its airy quicksilver nature also lends itself well to interpretations of happenstance, synchronicity, magic, enchantment, and divine gifts. She also favors those who work in metaphysical, spiritual, or healing fields.
Okay.
So, maybe it's talking about our live stream. We're getting together and talking about witchy things. Or maybe get together with your coven or have a blast with some witchy friends. So let's give us some tarot to kind of tie this all together. Because I'm still missing exactly how prison and great fortune are coming together.
I mean, like in my understanding of like Lenormand, sometimes like one card will eat at the other or strengthen the other, and it sounds like, whatever, little quibbles or bureaucracy or whatever is happening this weekend, like the great fortune outshines all of that.
Yeah.
Right?
I just pulled the 3 tarot cards and it kind of just reinforces everything that was just said. We have the lovers, positive choice, like happiness, getting together with friends. We have the 8 of Cups, moving on from that difficulty. And then we end with the 9 of Wands, celebration, getting things together. We're moving in flux. We're having a good time. We're defending ourselves. We're taking that quiet time. We keep circling back to quiet time today between the Astro-Weather and
the Astro-Weather, right? Business week is
everything.
finished. Nice weekend with friends, healing and self-care time.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's just prison just feels so dramatic, but we're learning.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sophia. Like heavy lifting. Thank you so much for coming on and teaching us about Kipper. I think I just need to get a Kipper deck. I'll probably end up getting Chiro. Because I like Chiro's sensibility. Oh, yes. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Advertising.
Thank you. So what's Sophia's IG again? Benevolent_Corvus. And I will put that into the chat.
That's what I love about this group. They do the advertising for us.
Well, that's just the way it should be, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and put that into the chat. You all know where to find me, Hilary. tarotbyhilary.com, IG, Instagram.com/tarotbyhilary. So here you go. Here is Sophia's benevolent_Corvus. And her website is also benevolentcorvus.com. No underscore on that, just benevolentcorvus.com. Jenny says, fun to listen on a Friday night. Yes. Yes. So thank you once again, Sophia. I'm going to go ahead and let you go so I can wrap up the episode. Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. All right. And now it looks terrible. By the way, I did do an overlay as well for just me, but we didn't seem to need that because, we started with Sophia right away. So we can just go back and take a look, right? So yeah, you can see right here what the agenda was: the Astro-Weather, Kipper with Sophia, and then the weekend forecast, and of course, as always, the mid-episode reading, which is the new fun addition to these Friday nights. You're very, very welcome, Jenny. So most of the time we do episodes like this every Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will not be doing an episode next week. And here's the reason why. I'm going to be away at a pagan festival teaching next weekend. So I will not be here. In fact, I think we are doing, I'm part of the ritual team. I'm not running the ritual, but I'm part of the ritual team for the Friday night ritual. So I really will not be here because I'll be doing pagan and witchy stuff. And then I'm teaching my 2 classes, I think on Saturday. I can't remember if I'm teaching tarot and spell work in the morning or the afternoon. And then I'm teaching about tapping as well. So it's 2 classes that I'm teaching at the Pagan Festival next weekend. So no show Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. No show next week, but the the next Friday after that, let me take a look at the calendar. So, yeah, so no show on the 18th. Friday, the 25th, we are going to be having the 4-year anniversary of this show. Can you believe that? I can't. I cannot believe it's going to be 4 years of doing this live stream. So come look through the archives or the replays of past episodes. Let me know some of your favorites so we can talk about it together. Revisit some of those topics too. See if my opinion on those things have changed. Probably not, but sometimes my mind gets changed, or again, revisiting things that didn't work for you in the past to see if you're ready for it. Very important. The festival is in Connecticut, Jenny. It's called Harvest Gathering. Thank you for asking. So yeah, come to the show Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on August 25th to celebrate 4 years of the Tarot by Hilary live stream. I can't believe it. I'm really looking forward to it. But just know, no show next week. All right, let me take this down now that I put it up. Little floating overlay there. And let me take down my comment snake here. But yeah, so once again, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader and EFT tapping practitioner of tarotbyhilary.com, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with your own intuition. A gift. The gift of your own intuition, because yes, my friends, you have intuition. This is something I firmly believe. And through tarot or Kipper or Lenormand, you can access your intuition through those tools. So Katie says, thank you, Sophia and Hilary. Good luck with your presentations at the Pagan Festival. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to teach those topics. Have a good weekend to everybody. Jenny is asking, any plans to come to Minneapolis? Not so far, but if there is a particular store particular bookstore that you have in mind to bring my book to, or possibly go and do a book signing or a book talk about how to read tarot, let them know. Let them know that you want me to come there and do a book signing, and we can try and make it happen. Like, I've literally had not done any book signings for my book because it was a contracted book. I wrote the book that they wanted, but I would love to be able to do that. So yeah, reach out to local places in Minneapolis and say you want to see Hilary Perry Haggerty of Tarot by Hilary fame. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody, and have a good rest of your week. In 2 weeks, I will see you August 25th for the celebration of 4 years of Tarot by Hilary live. Bye.